Hello? What's that?
Nothing. It's weather experiment.
Oh.
Great Scott!
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alrighty, what is up, my artists? We're here for the Thanksgiving Austin Artist Review special. Didn't have one of these last year, but I figured this year we could have one. Devin gave me the idea. Since we did Back to the Future on the live commentaries last year, because that's what I do every year for Thanksgiving, is watch Back to the Future, the trilogy. Why don't I do an Austin the Artist review on the trilogy of Back to the Future for Thanksgiving, because that is, I already watch the movies every year for Thanksgiving, so I might as well do a review on it this year. But this is a franchise I always go back to around Thanksgiving. I don't know necessarily why. It just feels right, I guess, to go back and watch Back to the Future, the trilogy, and basically just be immersed in the story and how good the movies are and everything pretty much like that. And I definitely enjoy going back to it every year. It's something that I look forward to every year around Thanksgiving. I'm excited to review them this time. And, well, without further ado, let's get into the reviews. Alright, Back to the Future 1, Part 1. This movie came out in 1985. It's I think it's probably, I don't think it's the best. I think I will talk about how I think 2 is my favorite in the next one, but I do really enjoy this one. I will rank these once we get done with it, but nonetheless, this movie started with all of Doc Brown's, who is played by Christopher Lloyd, obviously, his equipped like clocks and experiments that he has in his house, and Marty goes to visit, and basically Marty gets a call from Doc's phone, and it's Doc Brown, and basically he tells Marty at 1:15 a.m. to come by the mall area so they could do an experiment. And Marty's like, okay, well, where have you been? And he's like, doing work, pretty much. Basically, Marty just goes with it. And he realizes that he's late for school, so he goes to school. And it's where we meet his girlfriend, Jennifer. He's talking to Jennifer, and basically and sitting there saying how he's going to go to this talent show with his band and everything. And he basically goes to the talent show. He fails, but he looks forward to a night that he's going to have with Jennifer the next night, where he's going to take her to the lake, but he doesn't tell his parents because of the fact that his parents are very uptight when it comes down to his mom Lorraine and his father George. That's when we get to him actually going back to his house and having dinner with his family. And basically, his mother Lorraine is very to herself and very, it seems like she's very unhappy with her marriage in a way, because George is very complacent with how his high school bully and now supervisor Biff is just walks all over him and is pretty much a dickhead to him. And he's very complacent, and he watches TV, doesn't really pay attention to his kids or his wife or anything like that. Also, the car that Marty planned on taking to be with Jennifer in got wrecked. So they cannot go in that car, and that's a whole thing. Then Marty falls asleep and wakes up around like 12:30ish a.m. and gets a call from Doc, and Doc is like, are you awake? Are you on your way, basically, and grab his camera from his house and every fucking thing. So Marty grabs the camera and basically goes over to the mall area where he was told to go, and basically Marty goes and films what he doesn't know at the time is the DeLorean, the way that Doc made time travel, basically. So, I'm trying to say that in a less awkward fucking way, but basically he films Doc doing this experiment on Doc's dog Einstein, where Einstein goes into the car and goes to the future, like 1 minute into the future, and Marty thinks that Einstein's just dead and done, but Doc has told him, no, Marty, he's went 1 minute, exactly 1 minute into the future, and I have created time travel, basically. And he tells him about the flux capacitor and the plutonium that he uses for the DeLorean, which is a problem because he stole that plutonium to get the gigawatts to create time travel. So basically, after we find out that Einstein comes back after the minute, basically terrorists come that he stole the plutonium from and shoot Doc and kill him right there on the spot. Now, Marty gets to the DeLorean and basically goes back to 1955, November 5th to be exact, because that is the date that Doc had in the DeLorean, because he was talking about how that's how he found out about, or not that he found out, that's how he came up with the idea of the flux capacitor to create time travel. So, basically, he's back in, Marty's in 1955, and he's in awe of what he's seen. He meets his dad from 1955, who's the same old, he's not standing up to Biff, he's kind of pretty fucking wimpy, if we're being completely honest with you. If I'm being completely honest with you. Fucking, I'm used to doing this shit with Devin. But, yeah, he's pretty wimpy and needs guidance, basically, from Marty. Now, Marty also meets his mom, but in a different way. He meets his mom by how his mom and his dad was supposed to fall in love. So basically, he gets hit by a car from his grandfather. Hits him with a car. He doesn't know if it's his grandfather yet. But he hits him with a car, and they take him inside to check on him and make sure he feels better and everything. And Lorraine falls deeply in love with Marty, which is fucked on so many levels if you think about it, but she doesn't really know why it's fucked. But still, it's fucked on many levels. So there's that, and basically that's when he finally meets up with young Doc Brown to tell him about all this shit. And young Doc Brown is hesitant at first, but he figures out after Marty tells him a story that only he would know that it's real, like he created time travel and everything. So basically they come up with this plan that on the next Saturday at this point, there's a lightning bolt that's going to strike the clock tower. So that would be the only thing that in that time period that can create enough gigawatts to send Marty back to the future. The title. There we go. But basically Doc and Marty hatch a plan to do that next Saturday, but first they gotta figure out how to get Lorraine and George together, because since Lorraine is in love with Marty at this time, basically he needs to figure out a way to get Lorraine to be in love with George so he could exist. And basically that's what the plot is for the rest of the movie. Lorraine is head over heels for Marty, and Marty's trying to get George to ask Lorraine out. It's not working too well at first. It gets to the point where Lorraine asks Marty to the dance, which is the dance that Marty was trying to get George to ask Lorraine to, but it doesn't work out in a way. So then basically they go to the dance together, and Marty hatches a plan with George to... Marty's going to act like he's going to force himself on her, and George is going to save the day, and basically that be the way that they get together and all this shit. So while that's going on, Marty is also fighting with the fact that he wants to tell Doc about what happens to him in the future, about him dying. So he writes a letter because Doc strongly prohibits him from telling him anything about the future, basically saying that it could damage the space-time continuum and he shouldn't hear anything about it. So the plan doesn't go as planned, I should say, and Marty gets taken out. Basically, Lorraine actually wants to just legit fuck Marty at this point. She doesn't care if that's the thing. And basically, she kisses Marty, and she sees that it's wrong. She doesn't know how she sees that it's wrong, but she says it's like kissing her brother. So, less fuck shit, the better. But nonetheless, so Marty gets taken out of the car by Biff because Biff has been getting fucked on by Marty multiple times, and basically Biff and his gang of friends throw him in a trunk where the musicians for the dance are sitting in the car of that trunk, with the trunk that he's in. And basically they get him out of the trunk, but with one of the guitarists getting their hands sliced while getting them out of the trunk, which I don't even know how that really works, because the trunk, I don't think it would have sliced his hand. I'm not gonna... I really enjoyed the movie, so I'm not gonna fucking actually sit there and like nitpick it, of course. I've seen it multiple times in multiple years, so it's whatever. But nonetheless, so he gets out of there, but Biff is trying to force himself onto Lorraine because Biff has had this thing with Lorraine, and Lorraine has not wanted Biff whatsoever. And basically, George has his cue, and he finally makes his move, and he stands up to Biff and punches him square in the face, knocks him the fuck out on some fucking like Friday shit. Like it's giant ass goddamn punch. But once that happens, Lorraine and George get together and they go to dance. Marty has to take one of the guitars because of the guitar slicing his hand, and that's how he gets George and Lorraine to kiss, leading him to be conceived in the future. And then this is when we get to the end of the, like, not the end, like the climax of the movie, I should say, where Doc has everything set up for the lightning to strike, and basically something fucks up where he has to plug in the plug again so he can do it. And Marty's trying to tell Doc about the future, but Doc will not have it. And he rips up the letter and everything. And Marty goes into the DeLorean and gets ready while Doc is trying to fix this plug. That way he can go back to the future. While doing so, he unplugs the other part of the plug. So he plugs in the one part of the plug and then he zip lines down to plug in the other part of the plug. And basically after that, Marty gets back to the future and he goes 10 minutes before what Doc had put in so he could warn Doc about his death. And basically Doc gets shot again, but he read the letter, he taped it back up. I don't know how that works exactly, because taping a letter back up is not fucking easy. But he tapes it back up, and he read the letter, and he says, "What the hell? I might as well read it," basically. And he wears a bulletproof vest. So Doc is alive in the future. He goes back 30 years in the future, and then Marty goes to sleep for the night, wakes up, sees that everything's different. His mom and dad's happy, his brother and sister is happy. Biff is now waxing their cars. His mom and dad are very, really enjoy the fact that he's with Jennifer, and he doesn't need to hide it, really. And then, basically, at the end, he sees Jennifer, and then the setup for the next movie, Doc comes back 30 years in the future, and saying that Jennifer and Marty needs to come with him because their kids have messed something up big time, and they need to go back to the future and fix it. So, that was the first Back to the Future from 1985. This movie is one of those movies I can go back to all the fucking time. Even the next movie is another movie like that. These movies I go back to every year. So, this one is really influential in my fucking childhood and everything. I can't speak, so if you want to comment that I can't speak, that's fine. What the fuck ever. But I can't speak well. So, on that note, we will get to Back to the Future Part 2 right now. Alrighty, Back to the Future Part 2 from 1989. Now, this movie starts directly from the last scene of the last movie where Doc takes Jennifer and Marty to the future. And, this is the shortest movie, but it feels longer. It definitely feels longer. I don't know what it is, but it felt really, like, a lot longer. I enjoyed it. Yeah, this definitely is my favorite so far. Just going back to it again, this is my favorite so far. I enjoy this one. I enjoy the first one, but I enjoy this one a little bit more. But basically, the whole deal is Doc's trying to save Marty's and Jennifer's kid from basically going to jail because this gang led by Griff is that's a Biff fucking, like, I guess a Biff descendant, because that is Biff's grandson and all, but fucking basically all sorts of hijinks ensue, and Marty stops Griff and gets Griff and his gang fucking imprisoned. So that was the, like, short main plot, I guess. But Jennifer was also knocked out because she was knocked out kind of with this, like, Men in Black type sleep ray that Christopher Lloyd Doc has. And basically she wakes up and fucking sits there and gets taken to their house because they just think it's regular old Jennifer, even though she looks really fucking young. So I don't know why the cops would think, oh, this is just Jennifer. She looks like 30 years younger, but it's still, she could have got de-aged or something, but it's whatever. But basically, while that's going on, Marty has the bright idea to buy a sports almanac from, I think it was 1950 all the way to 2000, and basically that was a get rich quick scheme kind of deal that he was trying to pull, due to the fact that he just wanted to fucking do that. So basically, once he does that and Doc warns him not to, he doesn't throw it in the trash. It was mainly he just puts it down into the trash like Doc does, and sits there. And while Biff, like the old man Biff, is like listening in, because he had noticed in the past of the flying DeLorean when they were back 30 years from the point that they are now. And basically, he recognizes the DeLorean and sees both Marty and Marty Jr. at the same time and thinks, oh, there's two Martys. That's weird. And then he sees the DeLorean and realizes, oh, fuck, they've time traveled. I don't know how he would come up to that conclusion, because this is Biff we're talking about. Maybe he just got smart, I guess, as the years went on. But basically, he listens into Doc and Marty, and he takes the sports almanac. And while they're going to get Jennifer to go back to the past, fucking Jennifer already is realized that fucking and seen that Marty in her life has not lived up to what she thought it was. It's honestly pretty fucked, but because it's that they're like Marty's out of a job and everything, and it's just fucking all over the goddamn place. But she passes out again, and Doc and Marty take her back in the DeLorean. But before that happens, fucking Biff takes the DeLorean out for a spin and gives the sports almanac to his past self from 1955, so that when Doc and Marty go back to the past is just all chaos and scrutiny and all this bullshit, because Biff has basically rigged himself to be rich, pretty much, and has married Lorraine and killed George, and Marty figures all this out, and he finally confronts Biff about it, and Biff tells him exactly how that he got rich and all this shit. And that there's a lot of references and past references to when it comes down to the first movie, but there's also a lot of references to the next movie that's going to come, because they filmed these back to back. They filmed this movie and the last movie back to back. I don't remember exactly why, but they did. But nonetheless, fucking once that was a whole thing, Marty and Doc go back to 1955 to grab the sports almanac, and all these hijinks ensue pretty much when it comes down to it. And eventually, with all the scrutiny and time paradoxes and all the shit that could have happened got foiled, because Marty and Doc basically made sure that it didn't fucking happen. The sports almanac is burned by Marty after thwarting Biff multiple times in this movie, because that was kind of the rest of the movie, just thwarting Biff and getting the sports almanac back, because that was basically it. It's a fun movie and I enjoy it, but it is a lot more formulaic, which is fine. I'm fine with formulaic when it comes to this movie, because I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a little bit more than the first movie, but I do see why some people are just like, oh, okay. But basically Marty burns the sports almanac, and they're about to go back to the future, and fucking lightning strikes the DeLorean, and Doc gets sent somewhere. Of course, Marty thinks he died, which I don't understand why he would think he died, due to the fact that he knows that he was in a time machine, and the fact that, you know, it's a DeLorean, and if he would have died, it would have exploded the car and not, transported it through time, because, that makes more sense in this universe. But I digress. Basically, Marty's kind of looking in despair and everything, and then a car pulls up, and it's pouring down rain, and he gets a letter from this guy that was in the car, and basically the letter is from 70 years ago from Doc Brown, stating that he is alive and well in the year 1885, which that sets up our last movie of the trilogy, Back to the Future Part 3, where we're in 1885, and then Marty gets asked by the guy who gave him the letter. The guy asks him, "Is there anything I could do to help?" And Marty says, "There's only one man that can help me." And we get Doc Brown from the first movie from 1955. Marty goes back and tells him that he came back from the future and he needs Doc's help to figure out this whole situation. And that's where we get the "to be concluded" sign, and then we get some scenes from the next movie which look good. And I've seen it before, obviously. I've seen these movies lots of times, but I always was confused on why they even put scenes from the next movie. It's kind of like a trailer, I guess. Mini trailer in the... I don't know. But the text says, coming summer 1990. So, just confirming that they filmed these back to back and everything. I do want to say that Crispin Glover did not reprise his role in the sequel. I will say, I think it was like some type of contracting issues, if I remember, something like that. It was something where he didn't want to return, but yeah, besides that, this movie was really enjoyable. I enjoyed the second one a little bit more than the first one, and I'm looking forward to the conclusion again. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to Back to the Future Part 3 from 1990. Alrighty, Back to the Future Part 3. Great movie, perfect ending to what I think is the perfect trilogy of movies. Started off from the ending of the last movie where Marty goes to 1955 Doc after 1955 Doc takes Marty and puts him back in the future. The Marty from 1955 that was in the future, came back to 1955, is now asking for help because the Doc from 2015 that was in the future got struck by lightning in the DeLorean and got sent to fucking 1885. And basically, so Marty is sitting there and telling him about this letter, and the letter basically says not to go to 1885 or anything, and to just get the time machine, have 1955 Doc sit there and fix it, and then go back to 1985. But fucking Marty realizes, he sees a headstone of Doc's death, which is on September 7th of 1885, which is actually the day of my birthday. Fun fact, of course I wasn't born in 1885, but I was born in 2003 on September 7th. But, so that's always a cool coincidence when it comes to these movies. But, fucking, so Marty goes to 1885 to save Doc, and Doc is basically, he's there, he's a blacksmith, and he's having a good life, and he understands that he needs to go back to the future to save his life, pretty much. But then, on the headstone it said, from his beloved Clara, who is the love interest in this movie for Doc, And Doc's like, oh, I can't fall in love. That's scientifically impossible for a man like me. But then he actually meets her because she almost falls off a cliff while they're testing a way to get the DeLorean back to the future, because Marty, when he went back into, well, when he went to 1885, he fucked up the gas tank because of a bunch of Indians coming by his way, and then other countrymen and everything. And basically, the DeLorean's kind of fucked the gas gauges, and there's no gasoline and no gas stations until the 1900s. So they're kind of fucked on that front. So they sit there and they're trying to figure out multiple ways to do it, and they blow out the gas gauge with fucking alcohol, strong ass fucking alcohol. And yeah, so they have to do a train. Another thing that happened when Marty went to 1885 is he met his distant relative, his great grandfather, or no, just great grandfather, Seamus McFly, and his wife Maggie McFly, along with his great grandfather William McFly, who is a baby at this point. So there's that. And he's like a key point for a little bit in the story, so that's not William Seamus, but yeah, they're a key point in, like, maybe I would say about 10% of the movie. But we see Doc saving Clara, and Clara's like this teacher, basically, who's really into science, which makes Doc fall in love with her, and he's head over heels, like straight up head over heels. Doesn't know what to do. He walks her home with Marty, and they're still trying to figure out the whole train thing as well. But the next day, when they're trying to figure out the train thing, Clara sits there and goes to his blacksmith shop and gives him a telescope that was damaged with all the wreckage happening, almost falling to her death and dying and shit. So basically, Doc automatically agrees without pay to fix this telescope because he is head over heels for Clara. So he fixes it, and then they have a party for the clock, like the clock area and everything. Oh, another thing that happens, I forget. This movie is long, and then there's a lot of shit that happens. So even though I've watched this many times, it's stuff leaves my mind and it comes back to me when I'm doing the review. The villain which they teased in fucking the last movie, Mad Dog Tannen, or Buford Tannen, the distant relative of Biff, is there, and he meets Marty, Marty is now Clint Eastwood in this. That's what he calls himself, because he couldn't call himself Marty McFly because there's already McFlys in the goddamn city. So he is Clint Eastwood, and he makes a ruckus and fucking basically fucks over Buford, and gets him on his bad. He's on Buford's bad side, basically. And he's the villain of the movie, main villain. He's actually the person that's going to end up shooting Doc for around $80. God, if that was a lot of money today. It's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money today. Damn. But basically, once they go to this party, another thing that happens is Doc dances with Clara and then Mad Dog Tannen comes there, and he tries to shoot Doc because he's wants his $80. He said to watch his back before, and so Marty intervenes and sits there and challenges Mad Dog Buford Tannen to a duel, which isn't a good idea because Mad Dog Tannen or Buford Tannen, whatever you want to fucking call him, is pretty goddamn quick with the gun and everything, and everybody's telling him it's a bad idea and everything. But basically, after that, we get like a party scene. Then we see that Doc and Clara have embraced and are together and everything, and they're in love with each other. Then the very next scene, it's Sunday night, about to be Monday, and fucking Marty is like, Doc, you can't stay here, basically. You have to sit there and go back with me to save your life and everything. And Doc wants to stay here because of Clara. And basically they have a whole thing where Doc finally agrees to go, but he has to tell Clara the truth of why. And Clara doesn't believe him, so she basically says that he's lying and dumps him. Then we get to, after that scene, Doc is going to the bar and he's about to drink some alcohol, but he just holds it because he can't really handle alcohol and everything, I guess. So Marty is asleep at the time and doesn't realize it, but Doc is broken pretty much. Marty gets there and basically goes to the bar. He has to find him at the bar, and he sits there and basically tells Doc, hey, we gotta go. And Doc doesn't want to go. He doesn't really understand. Like, he's in a trance, I guess. He's in like a trance because Clara has made him so heartbroken. And when Marty finally snaps him out of it, he drinks the alcohol and he falls to the floor face first. He's out cold. Fucking then Mad Dog Tannen gets ready for his duel with, there's quick draw or duel with Marty, and Marty doesn't want to do it, and that's where we get the famous line, he's an asshole. I'll probably put it in the video. But yeah, so basically he tries to get Doc out of there through the back door because they wake Doc up, and doesn't work out so well because Buford's cronies kind of see him and they take Doc hostage to where Marty has to sit there and do the duel. So he goes and does the duel, gets shot, but he has a metal plate on his chest on some Bret Hart and Goldberg shit, and he gets up and he beats the shit out of Tannen after disarming him. And basically after that, we also see that Clara is going on a train to leave the town, and she hears about Doc being so broken up and that he was actually telling the truth. So while Doc and Marty are going to the train to get Marty and Doc all the way out of there to 1985, fucking Clara is trying to find the train that they're at to tell Emmett how she feels and that she loves him just like he told her that he loved her. And she finally finds it, but it's when they get to like 60 miles per hour on the DeLorean and the time machine is about to leave. So Emmett, Doc, and Clara are in harm's way. They're about to fall off the train because they're trying to grab each other, but then Marty with the hoverboard throws the hoverboard to Doc, and he gets the hoverboard and gets Clara, and they go off into the sunset while Marty goes back to 1985. He sees everything is right, everything is as good as it was after the first movie's ending, and he goes and sees Jennifer and kisses her, wakes her up, and basically tells her, well, she kind of figures it out for herself about the time machine, that everything was real, was not a dream, and everything. Oh, also the DeLorean completely gets destroyed by a train when Marty gets back. So there's that. No more DeLorean. Then they go and see the wreckage of the DeLorean, and we see that Doc, Clara, and Doc and Clara's kids, along with Einstein, are now in a time-traveling train, and they give Marty a gift and give them their best and just go off, pretty much. And that was the end of Back to the Future Part 3. We got a The End sign. And I think it's the perfect ending to a perfect trilogy. For the people who want to make this a remake or a fucking goddamn a fourth movie, I don't know why you would want to do that. It's perfectly fine the way it is, in my opinion. I will say, I think, because I did say I was going to rank these, I think I'm going to say that my favorite was Back to the Future Part 2. My second favorite was Back to the Future Part 1. And my third favorite was Back to the Future Part 3. This was my least favorite, but that does not halt it from being the perfect trilogy. I think all these movies are 5-star, like 5 out of 5s. Honestly, I enjoy these movies. I watch them every year. Like, I don't think, unless you have like genuine good talent, I do not think you can make a better trilogy than this, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, because I love these movies. They bring out so much nostalgia in me, and it's really great that I've gotten to watch them so many times. I've gotten to do a live commentary, the triple feature live commentary with Devin last year, and now that I'm reviewing these this year, it's really nice, and I'm glad I'm getting to share my love of these movies with all of you on my channel. It makes me feel happy inside. So, yeah, well, with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in December for some more reviews, and of course my list, both of my lists will come out in December. Like every year, it's going to be a yearly thing, and we'll see what I think is the best movies of this year and the worst movies of this year, along with some Christmas stuff, and also some other stuff sprinkled in there in December. But on that note, thank you guys for watching, And we'll see you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.